Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast. I'm your host, Tyler, the Superman of Blue, the man of tomorrow. And with me is my host, James Flippin' Cole, the man of tomorrow, the Superman of red. What's up, James?
What's going on? Man of
Not much.
Steel.
Woohoo! So let's see here. Get everything loaded. Not a whole lot of news this week, just a couple small things. We're going to record this show. What do you call it? Jamie. And we just didn't get to on Sunday. So here we are. We're a little behind on this one. So we apologize, trying to keep up with everything. But let's get into the news and then we'll get into me adjusting my microphone because things keep getting bumped around. But yeah, let's get into some stuff here. So what we got here. All right.
What stuff we got, Tyler?
First piece of news is kind of funny, not really news, but my kids have been on a trek of rewatching all of Teen Titans Go. Like they've just been like in hardcore Teen Titans Go mode, and it's just been playing constantly. So that's been fun. Also, I officially now own this. I did not have it. I've been wanting to get it for a while, and it was on sale, or it was $9.99 on Amazon for Shaquille O'Neal as Steel. It was on Max for a while. They took it off. They kept playing with this, so I just bought it to add to my DC collection. And it's just funny because like it's not even like really marketed as a DC movie.
Absolutely, though. I mean, look at it. It's all shiny and brand new.
It's
Got a
and this
brand
is
new
from
DVD of Steel.
well, this is from the Warner Archive collection too. So
Oh wow, nice.
yeah, that should. I was someone was like, "Oh, can I watch that?" I'm like, "Yes," and you will, because we'll have to get your attention. But the big news is, bring this up. We have a Kent family home. This is going to be the Kent farm for Superman. Uh, you know, it's still people are still calling it Legacy, and I think I kind of missed that just because it gave it its own identity, and we could say Legacy. Now, when we just say Superman, it's kind of like Superman what? But yeah, this is the most simple, plain house that's like a country house. Looks ordinary. Like I pass all the time when I'm driving, without really being a farmhouse kind of thing. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I see houses like that a lot in the country around here, but not Kansas, but filming in
Georgia.
LaGrange, Georgia, is the
Yep.
Kent farm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty cool. I mean, just looking up at it, I mean, it's got like a farm drive and I mean, it's easy enough uh to put farm stuff out there in the middle of nowhere.
yeah,
If
they'll
they
just
needed to put up a barn, or if they just need to bring in some
some corn.
cattle or corn, or just put digitally put it in, whatever they do, you know.
I mean, I will laugh if they put like a digital cornfield in right here. But at the same time, I need my corn for my Superman property. Okay. And then the other piece of news we got is we have a Lombard. Beck Bennett is the latest actor to join James Gunn's Superman, which is filming in Atlanta. Sources are saying that he will be playing Steve Lombard. So cool. All
There
we
was
need
an
now is
image I saw that said, or I didn't see an image, but I saw something. Somebody said that he was rocking a familiar mustache. So I
yeah,
don't
I
know if
saw
that's
that too.
true.
I saw that too. I just went with this screenshot here from the Hollywood Reporter, so we have the reliable source that we can all reference. Usually, the Hollywood Reporter is pretty much on it and correct with their reporting. So that's exciting, Like all we need now is Ron Troop, and we'll have our whole Daily Planet kind of in it. Maybe a Cat Grant, a small cameo.
Yeah, it'd be cool, you know, if you're gonna spend some time in the Daily Planet to see hear some familiar names.
Yeah, it would be cool if they did that. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. just really bringing in the whole cast of a Superman. But that's all the news. So yeah, let's bring it back around. Okay. All right. So what would you like to talk about next, James, on our ongoing agenda?
I mean, I guess Superboy.
All right. We're going to talk about Superboy. We are continuing our coverage of Superboy. This week's episode is season 1, episode 2, A Kind of Princess. Now, it aired Saturday, October 15th, 1988. And it had a 5.8 on IMDb. Yikes. But it says Clark falls for Sarah, the daughter of a crime boss. Both Clark and Sarah get stuck in the middle between rival crime syndicates. And it's up to Superboy to save everyone. All right, James, how are you feeling about this?
Um, I laughed at the guys who were sweating profusely.
Is they're filming
You
in
know,
Florida?
well, I mean, they're in Florida in the 80s.
Yeah.
I think they're sweating for another reason. But
Would it happen to be The Wolf of Wall Street?
yeah, very very much the same type of deal.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um the the way the crime bosses acted towards each other, it was so um it was so generic, it was so cheesy.
I
I had a
know,
good
right?
time with it. Um of course, Clark would kind of be seeing uh the daughter of like the biggest crime lord.
Yeah, so, at the beginning we have a car bombing that Clark saves uh the guy who ends up being, the dad of Sarah. And I'm just like, Clark's got a little he's got a little swagger, a little something something, going on here. Like this Clark is I'm actually liking John Newton's Clark a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Um he's definitely um he's just himself as a person.
Mhm.
He's not so exaggerated in any way, especially like a somewhat clumsy sort of way.
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
just a regular person talking with his friends, talking with girls, but he still holds back. The way that he left the daughter, I forget her name, in the
Sarah, after she like kissed him at the
Sarah,
dance.
yeah,
And
and then he left her there.
my favorite part is um we see him like fly and we see him use a super breath saving her. Um but what do you call damn, I can't talk using my handy dandy notebook. But I liked how he like was, the security guard guy was all about, like, oh, I got hit in the head and they took her, and he like uses, you know, his vision to see he doesn't have stitches, no bandage, anything. Uh what do you call it? So I like that. Just I liked him being more investigator in this, and instead of just kind of being there. I don't know what what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
he
no, I liked how I like how he was able to uh clue in that the security guard who was supposed to be guarding her was in on it, and helped kidnap the daughter, helped kidnap Sarah for the rival crime organization.
And what I think is interesting is we see like the dad won't give up the syndicate, the crime syndicate, to save his daughter. And she's like, Dad, give him what he wants. And he won't do it. And we really see where her dad is in his whole mindset. And then, of course, Superboy uses his freeze breath to save her. And it's a really great scene. And of course, Sarah's leaving school. And it's
Yeah,
got Clark crushed.
I liked how he froze his entire hand around the detonator.
And we have Sarah's leaving, and at the end, Clark and Lana have a really good conversation. And she's like, Did you guys ever spend the night together? Ooh, Lana wants to know some details. And he's like, No, Lana.
Yeah,
We never
she wants
shared
Clark
any
to
more.
spill the tea.
We never shared any more than just a passionate kiss. She's like, dum dum dum. All in all, it's a pretty interesting episode. And like I said, I get more interested in John's Clark because he's not playing like he's not trying to be Chris. But what would you rate the episode?
I mean, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm kind of a 6.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it was an organized crime episode, creative way with the detonator. I liked it, for it being what it is, the show in the late 80s there.
kids are heading out to bed, everybody. So good times, good times. Keep distracting me, children. But all right, so let's dive into this week's episode of My Adventures with Superman. And this week's episode was pretty awesome, not gonna lie. It was entitled Full Metal Scientist. Clark's life falls apart as the general goes into hiding in Clark's apartment. Meanwhile, Jimmy's struggling with being a leader, and Lois goes toe to toe with Vicky Vale as they track down the missing scientist. All right, James, what you thinking on this?
I mean, like you said, well, your reaction, your spoiler-free reaction, saying that it was pretty dope, got me excited. So I was excited to watch it, and then when I finally put it on Sunday afternoon, I was really stoked. Starting out saving Silas Stone from a building fire, and then of course he deletes the evidence and is let go, and then you see John Henry Irons on the frickin' the commercial, and he's working for Ameritech, like right there, or Amertech.
Yeah,
I believe they called it Amertech. I got to get used to that. I don't know why. I just Amertech sounds good, looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just an awesome episode. Superman gets a new power.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But I mean, let's see what all was in this. So we learned that Silas Stone's son Victor is between 9 and 10 years old. We learned that Palmer Tech is hiring. And of course we got John Henry Irons in a steel suit, and we have the robots being called the Metallos that are powered by like this energy that makes a Brainiac symbol. So that's interesting. We have a
Yeah, it
drop of
seems like part of the Metallos is at least based on the Kryptonian technology,
and we
different than
have
the Omax.
that John Henry moved back because of his niece Natasha, who's a flame bro, and we have live wire attack. But let's we have Sam Lane staying, and one of the funniest parts is at the beginning of Clark um trying to sneak into his apartment, and he's like yelling at Jimmy to give him his clothes, and he tries to do without Sam seeing. So that's pretty funny.
Um, there was so much good, so much fun stuff in this episode.
It's probably one of the best episodes just all around in general
Just
of the
the way,
series.
yeah, the way that everything was, the way that all the characters were tied together.
This episode was great. I mean, for all the world building that it did of everything, it was really great.
Oh yeah, so much world building. Silas with a son Victor, of course. Um, uh, uh, John Irons, his niece Natasha, uh, Amertek, Weston, um, like the mention of Metallos in a way, the steel suit as a first responders unit.
And I like the depiction of like corporate greed of the guy who's just like, I didn't know this was gonna happen. And John Henry's like, yeah, we told you like this was gonna happen if you try to suck too much power and do these to these costumes. And he completely, screwed up. And at the end, like I literally wrote in my notes and I put, is Lex going to take over Ameritech? And then boom, he took it over and was like, and it's LexCorp now.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Kind of being totally backed by the government the way it is, you know what I mean? Like getting Lex in on the ground floor with some like massive resources and government funding and contracts and things to work for with.
It was pretty awesome. Speaking of pretty awesome, let's talk about that new Superman power. Is it new? Not exactly. I don't think so. But what are your
No.
thoughts? What are
No,
your
I mean
thoughts?
it's not new. It's definitely something we've seen before. Something they've mentioned in comics, something we actually saw in All Star Superman, the
Thank you.
animation adaptation.
Thank
Um,
you. Because that's exactly where my head went. The exact same
um,
thing.
yeah, he's been said to have a bioelectric aura um, around him, which like protects his suit, and he can like extend it, and that's why things don't crush when he carries them, fall apart like they normally should. Just some different explanations over the years. But like it's the only real like visual representation we've ever had that I know of is All Star Superman, um, and now this. I mean, we've seen him glow blue and things like that before, but this time he actually extended his aura around things. He did it on accident, saving Silas, and then he did it on purpose to contain the 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 fusion reaction before John shut down the towers by smashing the columns.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. And I've seen people online talking about like, what is this? What is this power? And I'm like, what power do they give Superman now? And I'm like, his whole aura thing has been discussed. It's been in comics. It's not that well known, but it is something. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. But speaking of pretty cool, I finally got something. Hold on, watch this.
Oh, nice. Nice. He got the blue Superman poster that matches my red one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just gotta find a. I'm rearranging some stuff to hang it up. So I got a frame.
Yeah.
Or-
Mine's I'm going the wrong way.
Mhm.
Mine's right there. But on this angle, can't see much of it.
So the last thing we're gonna discuss on this episode for this week. This is our first episode of June. It was supposed to be out Sunday. As we kind of dive into the start, we talked about June was going to be a look at the new 52 Superman. And we're going to kind of just look at the Superman title. Um, Not Action Comics, because Action was a little bit different. It was a little bit more well received, and it existed kind of for the first part in like 5 years past. And the new 52 is kind of confusing because you had this 5 year time jump, and some stuff took place back then, and then some stuff took place what was like the current time. But we're looking at just the Superman book. And so we're gonna discuss right tonight the first what I like. The new 52 is very much written for trades, which I liked about the new 52.
It was, yes.
So the first 6 issues of what's known as um, What Price for Tomorrow, and it's by a great, what I would say, a really good creative team. And you know, not to really, by George Perez, and pencils by Jesus Marino for the first. Let's see, George and Jesus do issues 1, 2, 4, and then George Perez and Scott something I'll look at when we get there does issues 3 and 5, and then Dan Jurgens finishes off with issue 6, which I find interesting, of like why he was only doing 5 issues, like a 6 issue arc. Did something happen? But um the first thing I'm gonna start off with is I remember this image of the new 52 Superman, of him holding up the Daily Planet and in the new suit, and be like, okay. But let's get into it.
Well, I
James.
know people kind of like were have freaked out about it since, just because he's like glowing red eyes, the flames from underneath, and the crumbling Daily Planet um, globe, like like evil Superman or something.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Looking back, okay. This really is not the reboot that people think it is. It is like a very weird restart point, because this book starts with the old Daily Planet being destroyed, and a new, basically Morgan Edge has bought the Daily Planet, and it's his new Daily Planet. It very much feels like we're just destroying the old and starting something new, but we're not starting from square one.
Yeah, like there's some history when you're reading through this book. Like, so you see the past when they talk when he's in just the jeans and the t-shirt, and the short cape. You see that you when he is only able to leap tall buildings in a single bound and not fly. And they talk about how he's uh, continuously getting stronger. Um, the suit that he wears, he got from Brainiac.
In this
Um,
issue, they talk about like the past, like Clark, he's out doing his reporting for the Daily Planet, but he's not there. There's this past history of him and Lois as a friendship. They're almost at odds at the moment. And we have this fireball attack, and it's like a sentient being in itself that Clark uh, is trying to stop. And I'm reading through here, it had been a while since I had read this series. And, I'm going through this and they say like it was a fire that attacked and no one was burned. And I was trying to remember, and then the issue ends where we have Clark showing up at Lois's and there's another dude there. And I always think it's hilarious. Like this is such a trope for stories of like a woman answers the door or a man answers the door and then someone else is there with them who says, "Hey, who is it?" And then they show up in the background. Like, does that happen in real life? Like, do you answer the door and then like you're talking and then Jamie's like, "Hey, who is it?" and walks up behind you? Or, like it's always just such a cliche move.
Right? Yeah. It's almost like, oh yeah, hey, what's going on? I want to be part of this.
Let me
How's it
just
going?
let me just
Who's
show
at the
up like
door?
with no shirt on.
Well, they were celebrating.
Yeah. And like then they talk about Clark as he's leaving. He's such a loner, never lets anyone get close to him.
Yeah.
I tried
Um.
getting I tried setting him up with some friends, but maybe
Right.
he's pining for you. Oh,
Well,
shut
like,
up and get back in bed.
yeah.
And
Well,
it's
like
and it,
Galaxy Global like bought the Daily Planet, so like they've got this big TV division and stuff now, and Lois is like the top producer.
and so like it's such a gut punch kind of to end on. It really tells you like this isn't your Superman. Um, Lois is not with Clark and they have a weird strained friendship. And I don't know how you felt reading it, but I really wasn't enjoying this. Um, Clark, we see him interact with General Lane, and of course, General Lane's threatening him with Lois. We see a little bit of Clark and Lois's friendship. Um, and
Um.
it's a
Well,
really, it's a, I didn't like this story that much. And I just kept thinking to myself, this is how you reboot Superman. This is how you bring him back. And this is the first story you tell where it really doesn't feel like you're being introduced to stuff as well as you're being told what's not the normal anymore. Like this isn't how it is anymore. We have this and we have this. And it's like you're stepping into a new chapter instead of starting with Superman number 1. It's like I feel like we didn't really start anew. We just kind of continued from another point.
well, I mean, that is also a part of um the new 52, as it were. It wasn't like they don't have all new origins
Right. And that's what
for
they
all the characters. They're varying characterizations, and more of a modern world. um I mean, it's like an Ultimates reboot for the DC universe, but not
but
as
it's
edgy
but
or
not even as concise because the Ultimates really gave you new origins and really took you back to the beginning and just started over. This is like we're starting
well, this
something.
was well, I mean, yeah, it was, but it's supposed to be a continual continuity. Um, supposed to be the canon moving forward. Being able to go back to a younger age for these characters and tell different stories.
But that's the thing, they're not. They're going back and telling different stories, but like in this setup, we're just being told like, okay, this isn't the Daily Planet anymore. Clark and Lois have this. They're not together, but we haven't seen them actually ever meet. Like you have to go back and look at Action, and Action is like set in the past. So and but I'm saying like if I was just picking up Superman, like oh, new Superman number 1, I
Well,
don't
I
feel like
mean,
this is a number 1. Like if I'm a new reader coming in, like I'm like, what did I miss? Because the whole idea of number 1 is supposed to bring you in as a new reader to catch you up and you understand the stories. And this feels like I
no,
missed
no, yeah, well, no new 52 ever did, because it wasn't, because it wasn't bring it back to square one and start at one.
And that's point, like,
Like,
this whole
you
book,
know,
okay?
that was kind of the when they dropped you in, when the Justice League was formed, you know,
Mhm.
when Justice League started. Like, the New 52 had a lot of uh they tried to create a more condensed timeline.
Which is, I
So
mean, but, like, this story is just not getting me.
they went from the 75 years of stories before that to, like, this is a new world that's not bound by 70 years of history
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
particular, you
It's
know?
not, but I'm saying just reading this story, they keep referencing stuff that I'm like, what is this? Where is this story? Where is this?
Right.
Instead
So, well, when I kind of started reading again, I started in on the New 52. So when I jumped in, I kind of already had a history with Superman, but I just jumped into the story and I picked up where I went, where it put me in,
right, and
you
I
know,
get that 'cause that's what I did,
and it gives you history as you continuously move forward.
and I get that, but I'm saying if I'm a new reader and I'm seeing Superman 1
Well,
and I'm
are you considering, like, okay, I mean, so yeah, you're saying a new reader, nobody who knows Superman. I mean, that's hard to say. You have the history of all of that. You don't, you know what I mean? You're still bound by, you know, Clark and Lois are lovers, they're married and all of this stuff. You know what I mean? You still have that. So
I mean, I
when
do,
you jump into a number 1 and you see that they have this friendship that, I
but
mean, for the most part, as
it's a
well,
friendship
just for
that's
the first
established.
issue,
It's
it's
established.
established,
We've
yeah,
never seen, though,
but they're not lovers. So
but
there's
we've
just
never s
friends, though.
but we don't even see that. We see them almost as a frenemy, like,
They
there's
talk to
tension,
each other, and he goes right to her apartment, especially late at night. I mean, they're
and
friends.
you just see, like, there's history, but we're not privileged to any of, like, the introduction. We're just being, like you said, dropped in, and the whole point of the New 52 was this to bring in new readers,
I
and I
mean,
just
then you just, I don't know. You got Secret Origins, you got Birthright. I mean, origin stories from the time they're a kid to now. I don't know. It's just an established Superman story. Um, I mean, it's not an origin story, but it is a number 1.
right, and that's what I'm saying, that's my problem with it,
I
is
don't know. I'm not looking for an origin story
I'm not looking
though.
for an
I'm
origin,
not. I don't want to know what happens. Like, that doesn't. It doesn't get into
but
that.
I wanna feel like I'm growing with the character because I don't wanna be told, like, in issue 1, like, "Oh, we're tearing down the old Daily Planet, here's the new one." Oh, okay,
Well,
so there's
you don't care about the Daily Planet. You're a new reader.
yeah, but I'm
You
just
don't
saying,
care
like,
about the Daily Planet. You do, but a new reader doesn't.
but I'm like, why not just start with it? So because they're really telling you in the first issue, we're tearing down the past and doing this. So I just really find it unbalanced with what they're trying to convey with this. And then I feel like through this whole first set of issues, okay, up to number 5, basically we learn that these, how would you say it, sentient, tiny, microscopic creatures have basically turned into Superman's powers, like a manifestation kind of his powers, and they're attacking him. Um, and we realize that these bug-like microscopic creatures have basically replicated Superman. So for some point of time, when do you think it happened?
Well, I mean, so it doesn't. So the only thing that it gives you is that it was when he got the suit from Brainiac's ship, and
5
they
years ago.
were in 5 years ago, and they were in a bottled city. Um, so I'm guessing something got damaged. Yeah, a bottle got destroyed, and their microscopic or nanite type civilization um, attached itself to him, and yeah, somehow eventually created these like it's it's like powers because it they like the fire turns everything to fire, so everything they touch they like replicate on.
Yeah.
They turn into and become it. It's like uh it's almost like a parasite, an organism taking over every cell of what it touches.
Yeah. It's very weird because let's jump to issue 5. And issue 5 had a panel in it that kept making me go back and forth because we see Superman holding a guy and letting him go. We see Lois saying, "Clark, I know you can hear me. Please pick up your phone." And Superman drops the guy and she yells, "Clark." And I was like, does she know he's Superman? Like, no, she doesn't. That's later. But it just feels like they set that up. And then that you flip the page, so to speak, or click the panel, and we see Superman is in space. And we're like, okay, so Superman's in space. And
Yeah.
then
Well, so like you said, like they replicated him, um, in a way. Like so they were able to um mimic his powers and look like him. But they're like psychic. They are like microscopically keeping him under in space. Like they
yeah,
can't like eliminate him or they can't take him over as much or as quickly as a like a human body. Um, but the Lois thing, hollering Clark, like she doesn't have a concrete proof, but there is some sort of shot when he talks about him being in Smallville. Um, like he blacked out, he couldn't remember something. Um, there is a shot where um, she does see something. She has something on her computer, and it looks like Superman flying away from the cemetery.
yeah. So I would say at the beginning of issue 5 is where they take over him. Would you say that? Would you agree with that?
Yes, I believe that's where it is.
And then like it's all this like he's not acting like himself throughout the issue. And then we get to issue 6 and Supergirl shows up and catches um the guy that Superman dropped, and they start battling. And there's a lot of people discussing like who this person is, how she can take, the attacks and stuff like that. And she's just wearing a suit. Like she doesn't have like the kind of armor like he has. Um and then there's like this weird connection when Superman gets hit, the real Superman in space feels it. And then we get more, like you said, the history in this issue of what these creatures are. Um and then Superman, the real Superman, swoops down and takes it. We see two of them together, and it feels like towards the end, like he goes and he battles and fights the other one, yada yada yada, and they basically dissipate and fall apart. And then there's conversation between Supergirl and Superman at the end, and then Clark is in the hospital meeting Heather Kelly, which is really weird because I had a friend in high school, college. Her name was Heather Kelly, so it was just kind of weird to see that. And then it ends kind of where Clark's talking like him and Heather can't be together, and Lois is outside the room. And yeah, I like the last issue better, but I did not like this story. Like it just felt weird for this to be your first story to introduce Superman to a new reader. Um, the characters of Jimmy and Perry and stuff were very um very played down, and Lois is all about being a TV reporter, which they tried that in the 70s.
Yeah, they're they're underutilized a little bit in that regard. Perry and Jimmy. Lois, I think. I mean, she's not really a reporter. She's actually like the producer of
Yeah.
the show. So she decides what is news, and what goes on. So it's interesting. It's a different turn. It's definitely more of a promotion, you know.
Mhm.
Kind of like an editor, kind of like the chief who decides what goes where.
So it is interesting because like she's doing the like the television media side, with Perry's doing the print side, and there's arguing about Clark saying Print's not dead. Um, but it is just like I said, interesting going back and looking at just
Right.
the new
Well,
52 Superman title and how it was. And like I said, it's
yeah.
interesting that you have a writer doing the first 5 issues of a story, and then the conclusion is written by someone different. Dan Jurgens steps in and we'll be doing the next section.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, that's very interesting. See, like I remember when I was reading this that I was reading action along with it. So, like it helped establish some sort of a timeline to begin reading, you know?
mhm.
Um and that's kind of how the new 52 was really built was through that establishment of the timelines through the first handful of issues of most of the books, you know?
Yeah, it
So
is interesting.
reading this alone and definitely considering like a first issue kind of a thing, like, yeah, it's not an origin story. I mean, would it grab some people? Maybe. Would it put some people off because it's not? Possibly. But
I just feel like
um
it feels like almost like a filler Superman story in some ways, with some of the beats of it, and some of it I was like okay with. But
right. Well, they talk about Brainiac, you know. They talk about the suit and and how the suit is and what it is now. Um, I mean, the idea of how they got there, like, but the first villain we get is some sort of um, alien race with machines that were able to mimic his powers and then create like a life-size recreation of him.
and part of this experiment is just looking at the Superman title, and then looking later at just the action title, and do they work separate from each other, or do you need them to, like you said, do you need to read them together to really understand what's going on? Because sometimes you just want to read a title. I'm just going to read Superman.
Right.
And
Well, as a Superman fan, also, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're fine. So,
Oh,
like I said,
I yeah.
we're just the new 52 is very much chopped into like the first part, and then it changes to the DCU part where he gets depowered, and we'll probably look at that later on down the line, through this run. But I wanted to point out what I found very fascinating is having DC Unlimited Ultra. I went to Volume thinking, oh, I can read it in the trades, but they don't have everything in the trades. It has, if you look at it, it has the Volume 2, Secrets and Lies, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, and then it shifts to when they do the DCU, where we do Volume 1, which is the truth, Volume 2, Return to Glory, and then the Savage Dawn, and then the Final Days of Superman. So they don't even have everything like you'd expect. Like, I expected to go to Volume and see all the trades of the new 52 right there, and it's not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It took me a little bit to find the collection. It just wasn't my first search. I had to look at some different things to get to it.
So, and like I said, we're
Um,
gonna
but
do
as but
the
as you
first.
know, as a Superman fan, like whether you're a first time reader or you know some Superman and you've never read the New 52, um, I enjoy a lot of the New 52. I've read quite a bit of it. Um, So like reading this, you'll see a lot of names. Um, a lot of names for a lot of different things. Just a lot of Easter eggs for names for using what was it? There was Fleischer in there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was there's a couple others I'm blanking on right now, but um, and then bringing in like the Collector of Worlds. There's different things looming out there. There's other stories, and then just all the Easter eggs are really fun to see and read. So, as a Superman fan,
Yeah, I mean it is, and like I said, we're looking at this, through a special kind of set of lenses of does it work, does it hold up, is it something that just like the singular title, does it work, or do you need more than just the singular title? Do you need to be reading everything to enjoy what it is that they're giving us? So it's gonna be our experiment, and I don't know how far we're going to go down this rabbit hole just yet, but I know that June was the month I wanted to kind of look at it and kind of experiment with it. So, but we will get through at least the first 3 volumes this month, maybe the first 4, and then we'll see. But I think the first 3 is what we're going to do, because of volume 4, I think trickles into something that we're going to do in July. But hey, that's it for today's episode. We got a lot of people, out there to save. James got to go fight crime. I do want to say that this weekend, it's the 7th through the 9th, is Superman Celebration in Metropolis, Illinois. Kristen Crooks, Nuclear Man himself, Mark Powell, Brandon Routh, and Bitsy Tulloch will all be there. So I wanted to go, but I made a pact with my wife. We're going next year for my birthday celebration, even though my birthday's in February, for the year of Superman. So
yeah, I wish I could go.
but that is all. Man, my throat choked. Woo. Let us know your feedback. Give us, on our show notes, kryptonreportpod@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts, and remember,